My fiancé proposed to my sister. Everyone expected me to make a huge scene, even my parents told me to let her have her way, but to their surprise, I calmly offered my congratulations. They also announced my engagement to Shen Wang, the heir of a prominent family. My apologies. The tragic melodrama ends here. This sister is switching to the protagonist's triumphant path. Today was supposed to be my engagement party with Fang Cheng, but Fang Cheng never showed up, his phone was off. And even his parents couldn't be reached. Just as murmurs began to ripple through the venue, I took the microphone from the attendant, calmly picked up a glass from the table, and raised it slightly. My apologies, everyone. I imagine my fiancé must have something urgent to attend to. Before I could finish my sentence, the other main character of the day, Fang Cheng, appeared at the entrance of the venue, hand in hand with my own sister, Qin Yao, and cut me off in a loud voice. 1. My sincerest apologies. He let go of Qin Yao's hand and, with a look of deep affection, lowered his head to draw her into his embrace. Step by step, he walked over to me and held out his open hand. I'm sorry to trouble you. I set down my wine glass, placed the microphone in his hand, and instinctively took a step back. Fang Cheng gave me a nod, then looked around, his voice tinged with apology. Everyone, and Miss Qin II, my sincerest apologies. The engagement banquet between myself and Miss Qin II is hereby cancelled, but today, I want everyone here to bear witness. I, Fang Cheng, have only ever wanted to marry one person, from the very beginning until now, her, and her alone. As he spoke, Fang Cheng turned to Qin Yao, knelt on one knee, and spoke with utmost sincerity. Miss Qin Yao, will you marry me? Qin Yao didn't respond. She glanced up at me, then looked down at Fang Cheng. Tears silently streaming down her face as if her heart were being torn apart. After all, she had essentially hijacked her own sister's engagement party right in front of everyone. Fang Cheng could clearly see her inner turmoil. He wordlessly took her hand, offering silent encouragement. The guests, who had already been thinning out and preparing to leave, all turned back to watch the drama unfold. A low murmur of conversation gradually began to ripple through the crowd. Wasn't the engagement between the Fang and Qin families announced years ago? Are they switching the bride today? The eldest Miss Qin rarely makes public appearances. Who knew she'd be so stunning when she finally did? I heard the young master from the Fang family was quite fond of the second Miss Qin before, wasn't he? Does this count as the eldest sister stealing her younger sister's fiancé? Surely the second Miss Qin won't just let this slide. Hard to say, we're just not married yet. It's not a big deal. Sure enough, no matter the occasion or social standing, a love of gossip is a universal human trait. I smiled slightly, putting on my most earnest expression, and urged Qin Yao, sis, what are you waiting for? Say yes already. To my surprise, Qin Yao's tears only fell harder at my words. She lowered her head, shook it slightly, and pressed her lips together in silence. The half-kneeling Fang Cheng finally lost his patience. He turned his head and growled at me in a low voice. Qinji, stop tormenting Yao Yao. If you have any grievances, take them out on me. She's innocent. Me, her, what's that got to do with me? I held back for a moment, but couldn't stop myself from muttering a complaint. Are you out of your mind? The atmosphere in the banquet hall froze for an instant. My friends quickly gathered around, worried I might cause a scene, and tried to lead me out of the venue. Gigi, don't be upset. We can talk about whatever it is later. Qinji, are you okay? Let me take you somewhere to rest. Even my parents, Qin Zhao and Yi Shuran, came over, patted my shoulder, and tried to console me. Your sister has always given in to you her whole life. She just wants Fang Cheng, for once. Be sensible and let her have this, me, so I don't need to say anything at all. You've all said it for me. Pushing away the person tugging at me, I sighed. All right, you've all said quite enough. It's my turn to speak. I asked an attendant for another microphone and pushed these nuisances aside. Not far away, Qin Yao was crouched down, burying her face in Fang Cheng's chest and sobbing softly. Under the crowd's uncertain and suspicious gazes, I took 2 steps forward. The speakers placed around the venue carried my every word with perfect clarity. With all my heart, I wish for my sister and young Master Fang to find their happy ending together. Hearing the voice, Qin Yao lifted her head from Fang Cheng's embrace, her eyes rimmed red and on the verge of tears again. Gigi, Tired of her little performance, I cleared my throat and continued, at the same time, I sincerely invite all of you, mid-sentence. The banquet hall doors swung open, and a figure entered with measured steps. The crowd parted, and murmurs of surprise rippled through the room. That's not the Shen family's crown prince. What's he doing here? Holy crap. Is the crown prince here to watch the show too? I walked over, linked my arm with theirs, and smiled. You are all invited to the engagement party for Shen Wang and myself, on the 21st of next month, at Jiwang Garden. No one dared to utter a word after that, unlike ordinary wealthy families like the Qins and the Fangs, who merely live off their ancestors' legacies. The Shen family has been in politics for generations, with a distinguished record of achievements, yet Shen Wang emerged as an exception. He entered the business world at 20, employing ruthless tactics to seize control of over half of Shiqing's economic lifeline in just 5 years. He is the true definition of a young, self-made magnate, a member of the absolute elite. Frankly, no one here dares to offend the crown prince to his face, except for my dear sister, who always has my back. Qin Yarrow was helped up by Fang Cheng, her face a mask of disbelief. Gigi, don't talk nonsense. We can't afford to joke about someone like Mr. Shen. I tilted my head, confused. A joke? What joke? Fang Cheng put an arm around her shoulder, shielding her. Qinji, I was wrong today. You can ask for any compensation you want, but you shouldn't have crossed the Shen family. My father, Qin Zhao, finally managed to push his way through the crowd, his face etched with worry as he reached out to pull me back. Qinji, don't be foolish. Do you have any idea who this is? Before I could even form a reply, Shen Wang took a couple of steps back, pulling me along with him. Qin Zhao followed closely, apologizing while still trying to pull me back. Mr. Shen, my youngest daughter meant no offense. Mr. Qin, I think you've misunderstood something, too. Shen Wang furrowed his brow, his expression turning displeased. I held the microphone up to him. He lowered his head slightly and spoke in a calm, measured tone. Since Gigi has invited you all, I too would like to extend my warm welcome. On the 21st of next month, at Jiwang Garden, our engagement party. After a brief pause, he took the microphone from me. Oh, and by the way, best wishes to Miss Qin and young Master Fang. May you two lovebirds finally tie the knot. He then released the microphone, letting it fall freely to the ground, where it landed with a deafening crash. Combined with his previous words, the sound was like a hammer blow of agreement, striking deep into everyone's hearts. Thud, a sudden hush fell over the room, followed by a wave of astonished murmurs. All around, the young ladies and gentlemen were whispering and chattering incessantly. I thought Miss Qin II was the poor victim here, but something feels off. It seems young Master Fang's change of fiancé was a last-minute decision, but Miss Qin was prepared all along. Wait. I just noticed, Ji Wang Yuan. Is that from Qinji's name? Oh my god, you're right, we're just part of their little game. His name comes first, hers comes second. He's totally obsessed. The surrounding whispers were quite audible, reaching Shen Wang's ears. He seemed to relish it, turning his head to cast an appreciative glance at the young masters and misses who had spoken. He gave a slight, distant nod of approval. My gaze followed his, and I saw those few individuals become visibly more excited. Me. What's with all this shameless, gleeful shipping? Have some decorum. You're all supposed to be respectable figures. I raised my hand helplessly and patted Shen Wang, who was preening like a peacock. Dial it back a notch. The next day, Shiqing's top headlines exploded. With Shen Wang's approval, news of our engagement spread throughout the entire city. On my phone, Qin Zhao had been messaging me since yesterday afternoon. He kept asking how I got involved with Shen Wang. He asked if I was trying to ruin the Qin family. The Shen family is not someone I can afford to cross. Then, after seeing the headlines this morning, his sharp accusations turned into, Gigi, you must behave well and keep Shen Wang happy. The future of the Qin family now rests entirely on you, so it all depends on me. I tapped my finger on the last line of the message and couldn't help but laugh. Qin Zhao had no talent for running a business. 4 years. The company had relied almost entirely on the Fang family's support, so for over 2 decades, the entire future of the Qin family had rested squarely on Fang Cheng's shoulders. That's why, after discovering Fang Cheng and Qin Yarrow were involved, They decisively cast me aside. My parents have always doted on my frail, sickly older sister, eager to secure a good marriage for her. It's just that back then, Fang Cheng was the one relentlessly pursuing me, so they couldn't force a switch. Now that Fang Cheng has taken up with my sister of his own accord, they've finally gotten their wish. Just as I was thinking this, Shen Wang sat down beside me with a tray of water. What's on your mind? I picked up a green grape and sighed mournfully. My biased parents, my sick sister, my unfaithful fiancé, and poor, innocent me. Shen Wang guided my hand, the one holding the green grape, to his lips. Mimicking my tone, he let out a soft, melancholic sigh. Ah, my fiancé. She almost got taken advantage of. I almost forgot this fruit-snatching guy knows quite a few of my secrets. The pity play didn't work. The Qin family told me to win you over. I picked another green grape and held it to his lips. Here, let me try to win you over. Shen Wang took it with ease. His tone languid as he drawled, is a golden goose like me worth waiting a few days for? Since Shen Wang and I were getting engaged, it was only natural for both families to arrange a meeting. Besides, the Qin family had finally gotten their chance to cozy up to the Shins. They wouldn't miss the opportunity to milk it for all it was worth. 3. I just wonder how long they can resist the urge to spook such a big fish. I kept baiting the hook and ventured a guess. A week, maybe. Shen Wang turned his head away, stating with certainty, a day. The next day, at the Qin residence, my parents kept Shen Wang occupied with small talk in the living room, so I went back to my own room to pack my things. Planning to move in with him, the door opened, and Qin Yarrow walked in holding a cup of coffee, a warm smile on her face. Gigi, I ground this coffee myself. I brought you a cup to try. My eyes flickered to the faint, uneven love bites on her collarbone. Qin Yarrow couldn't even be bothered to pretend anymore. I really admire you, sister. Qin Yarrow, who was just about to enter, paused mid-step, yet still managed a smile. What is it? I put down the clothes in my hands, picked up the phone from the table, turned it off right in front of her, and tossed it onto the bed. Hand over your phone. Qin Yarrow hesitated. What are you doing? I blinked, giving her a choice. Turn it off, or step out and close the door. A moment later, the phone that had been recording in Qin Yarrow's bag was taken out and powered down. She closed the door behind her. Qin Yarrow's smile vanished, her tone turning icy. I've been wondering since yesterday how you managed to get close to Shen Wang. Now I see you do have some tricks up your sleeve. I shrugged. These little tricks are nothing compared to yours. The rest of the Qin family, especially our parents, from a young age, they treated Qin Yarrow, who was born prematurely, as if she were fragile porcelain. They wouldn't let her run or jump, forbade her from going outside to encounter any danger, and kept her cooped up at home for years. Yet, despite being coddled and pampered like a delicate doll, she grew up to be utterly wicked at heart. After she turned 5, she started singling me out, trying to take from me things she felt were rightfully hers. Things like my parents' special favor, the approval of teachers, friends, and family, and my fiancé, Fang Cheng. The methods she used to get them included, but were not limited to, feigning illness, playing the victim, and slinging mud. And she did, in fact, take a great deal from me using these very tactics. Even though I considered those things trivial, she always made a grand show of her victory. Perhaps she considers herself remarkably successful. At that thought, a faint, wry smile touched my lips. Qin Yarrow didn't acknowledge my previous remark. She brought the coffee to her lips and took a leisurely sip. I took great pains grinding these beans for over 10 minutes. It's quite good. It's a shame you won't try it. I chimed in. Yeah, what a shame. The room fell silent for a few seconds. She set down her coffee. You can't marry Shen Wang. Why not? You're not good enough for him. I nodded and asked in return. Oh, please. You think you're worthy. Struck to the core, a flicker of panic flashed in Qin Yarrow's eyes. But even then, she tried to conceal her own ulterior motives, admonishing me with righteous indignation. Shen Wang's background is not something you can aspire to. I'm only doing this for your own good. What a tired old line. For my own good. I sat down on the edge of the bed and deliberately paused for a few seconds. Is it that I'm not good enough? Or do you just want to keep him for yourself? I already gave you Fang Cheng. Isn't that enough? Qin Yarrow replied instinctively. Fang Cheng and I are truly in love. She paused, sensing something was off. Her eyes widened in disbelief. You're saying You'll give him up? Oh, my foolish older sister. I smiled, held up a finger, and pretended to count on it. Didn't you say you two were truly in love? Let me guess. When did the real love begin? Was it the engagement party the other day? The countless secret rendezvous over the years? Or, that night after the college entrance exams? Thud, smack, the thud of a heavy object hitting the floor, followed by the shattering of a ceramic cup. Startled the three people downstairs. Hearing the commotion, they came upstairs. Chin Yao lay weakly on the floor of my room, clutching her stomach and letting out soft, pained hisses. Coffee had been spilled down the front of her white loungewear, the shattered cup lying beside her, and I sat there facing her, watching coldly from the sidelines. The sight of it was a stab to our mother's heart. Anxious and worried, she helped Chin Yao to her feet. What's going on? What happened? Yao Yao. Are you alright? Chin Yao weakly opened her eyes, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. It hurts so much. Mom, please don't blame Gigi. I lost my footing. She didn't push me. Yi Shuran's face was contorted with fury, her heart aching for her eldest daughter as she looked up. The woman, who always prized her dignified lady's composure, didn't even bother with the coffee stain mysteriously smeared on her hand. She pointed a rigid finger straight at me. Chin Ji. She is your own sister, carrying your own nephew in her womb. How dare you push her? As she spoke, her agitation grew. She nearly rose to slap me, but her legs gave way, and she collapsed onto Chin Yao. Chin Yao's sobbing hitched for a moment. I pressed my lips together, stifling a laugh. When people feel awkward, they always try to look busy. Yi Shuran hastily moved away, tears falling as she held Chin Yao, shouting at my father. Chin Jiao, what are you standing there for? Call a doctor. What a tragedy, a real tragedy. Startled back to his senses, Chin Jiao was frantic. He wanted to rush downstairs to make a call for help. Shen Wang stood squarely in the doorway, blocking Chin Jiao's path. His tone was unnervingly calm, bordering on cold. Mr. Chin, don't be hasty. Chin Jiao froze, a mix of panic and fear gripping him. Mr. Shen, what are you doing? Shen Wang remained silent, just jerking his chin in my direction. Everyone in the room turned to look at me. I slowly rose from my chair and began to clap softly. You know what, my dear sister, this is the only role you've truly mastered all these years. What a shame. Today, the curtain falls for good. Yi Shuran didn't understand what I was doing. Fearing for Chin Yao, she snarled at me with a vicious, almost shrill roar. What on earth are you talking about? Why won't you let your father call a doctor? Are you trying to kill your sister and that unborn child? I frowned, raised my hands to cover my ears, and looked to Shen Wang for help. He raised his hand, curled his knuckles, and knocked on the door, signaling for her to quiet down. Mrs. Chin, rest assured, in this house, the person most worried about something happening to Chin Yao is not you. What? Shen Wang fell silent. So I picked up the conversation. If anything were to happen to Chin Yao in my room, I'd be ruining my own life as well. I'm not that self-sacrificing. Yi Shuran looked down at the pitiful state of Chin Yao in his arms, then turned his gaze to me. Puzzled, he asked, what are you trying to do? I picked up the two phones from the bed, walked over to the desk, and retrieved Shen Wang's phone hidden behind the books. I even waved the screen, which was still recording. Right in their faces, Chin Yao's sobbing stopped instantly. I caught the clear, fragmented panic and terror in her eyes. At that moment, our parents also held their breath. Sensing that something was wrong, my room had never been more silent than it was at that moment. Without further ado, I turned on the projector in the room and connected it to Shen Wang's phone. I played the video I had just saved from the beginning. For the first few minutes of the video, I was alone in the room, folding clothes. Then, Chin Yao entered, carrying a cup of coffee. In just a few more minutes, I asked Chin Yao, let me guess, when did you and Fang Cheng truly start falling in love? Was it at the engagement party the other day, or during all those secret rendezvous over the years, or was it the night after the college entrance exams? Chin Yao's face instantly drained of color. She took 2 quick steps toward me, her voice a low, seething growl. What the hell are you talking about? From the video, my reply came through loud and clear. Room 107, 10th floor, the Jinbin Hotel. I was the one who helped you delete that surveillance footage of you and him tearing at each other's clothes, kissing feverishly in the hallway. After hearing this, Qin Yao turned the coffee cup and poured it over herself. Her voice was icy, laced with jealousy and resentment. "So what? You owe me this." Without so much as a blink, she hurled the coffee cup to the floor, deftly sidestepped the shattering pieces, dropped to the ground, and let out a sharp cry while clutching her stomach. The commotion drew people upstairs, and the door swung open. In the final few seconds of the video, I walked toward the camera, and with that, it was over. A heavy silence filled the room. The profound look of heartache on Yi Shuran's face froze, replaced by utter disbelief. "Yao Yao, why would you do this?" Qin Zhao's face flushed crimson. A man who prided himself on being a gentleman his whole life and never raising his voice, he could no longer contain himself and snapped at Qin Yao. "What are you doing?" Qin Yao's tears continued to stream down her face. She shook her head, frantically grabbing Yi Shuran's hand and gripping it so tightly her knuckles turned white. "I'm not, stop, just stop." I clapped my hands, cutting their performance short. "I'm simply presenting the factual situation to everyone here. I have no interest in what happens next. Shen Wang and I have other matters to attend to. We'll be taking our leave." It was as if my words had snapped them out of it. Qin Yao stood up, ignoring the shards of the cup at her feet as she lunged to grab me. "Qin Ji, you did that on purpose. You want to ruin me, to take everything I have. You bitch, you're just..." But even faster than her was Yi Shuran, who had stood up with her. Grabbing her arm in a flash, slap, Qin Yao stood frozen in place, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Yi Shuran withdrew her hand, gazing with heartache at the palm print slowly emerging on Qin Yao's cheek, and murmured softly, "How could you be like this? What happened to you? But that's your own sister." Stunned by the blow, Qin Yao slowly raised her hand to her cheek, tears welling in her eyes. She stared at Yi Shuran. Falling back on her habitual tactic of playing the victim with a pitiful defense. "You hit me, for her, Mom. Have you forgotten how many times I've held back for her all these years? I've given her everything. I just wanted a Fang Cheng. What did I do wrong?" 5. Yi Shuran was stunned for a moment, and her grip on Qin Yao's hand trembled. "I just saw you a moment ago." Qin Yao shook her off and sneered. "Did you see what I just did? I was just defending my love, in my own way. And you, Mom? Are you just going to side with Qin Ji without even hearing the full story?" Yi Shuran shook her head, wanting to say something. I couldn't help but interject. All right, you're absolutely right, sis, but I just have one question." Everyone in the room turned to look at me. I looked at Qin Yao. "Is this your first time getting hit? How does it feel?" Qin Yao's face visibly paled, then turned ashen, the stark red handprint across her cheek making the whole scene utterly ridiculous. I let out a laugh. "If you can't find the words, then forget it. We've seen enough of the show. It's time for us to leave. The rest is for them to deal with. I've lost all interest in watching." Qin Yao was ordered back to her room by Qin Zhao. He and Yi Shuran saw Shen Wang and me out, their faces full of awkwardness. Just as I was about to get in the car, Yi Shuran held onto the door frame and tugged at my sleeve. "Gigi." I didn't respond. Shen Wang narrowed his eyes, yanked me into the car, then leaned halfway across my lap and said with earnest sincerity, "Mrs. Qin, if your daughter, Miss Qin, ever considers entering the entertainment industry, please feel free to contact me." He paused, then drew out his words slowly. "After all, I see she has a rare and remarkable talent." Yi Shuran froze. Her fingers, having grasped at nothing, clenched tightly. She didn't reply. I glanced up, then averted my gaze. Looking down, I gave her a dismissive wave. "We're leaving, Mom." As if soothed by my calling her Mom, Yi Shuran managed a faint smile and waved back at me. All right. The car door closed, and the window sealed away the heartache that filled her eyes. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. A realization that comes too late is, in the end, still too late. From childhood to now, Qin Yao has acted this way far too many times. From a young age, no matter how cunning a child she was, how could she possibly have been flawless all along? It's just that parents' hearts are biased from the start, their eyes and ears are biased too, only seeing and hearing what they want to see and hear. That's why they ignored my pleas and cries for help countless times, single-mindedly supporting Qin Yao, who seemed like the more fragile victim. Thankfully, it's all in the past now, and thankfully, I stopped caring a long time ago. Back at the Shen residence, I was planning to catch a few more hours of sleep, last night, a little mishap occurred. Qin Zhao couldn't wait a single day. Once he confirmed that my engagement to Shen Wang was real, he immediately called, urging me to bring Shen Wang home for dinner the very next day. We all know this so-called meal is just a pretext for something else. I couldn't stand the thought of sitting through that dreadful lunch, so I dragged Shen Wang over first thing in the morning, hoping to skip the whole affair. Luckily, Qin Yao came through for me, lending a hand so we could make our escape earlier. With the spring sunshine so perfect, it's the ideal time for a nap. Little did I know, I had just slumped onto the edge of the bed. Then, a restless someone sidled up to me, sleepy, muffled by the blanket. My voice came out just as muffled, The next instant, the mattress beside me dipped, and Shen Wang reached out, pulling me into his embrace. I was forced out from under the covers. As my vision shifted, a flawlessly handsome face was suddenly mere inches from mine. You're not going to weasel out of the bet you lost yesterday, are you? The bet, the whole thing about my parents' patience with him, their golden son-in-law. I bragged that they could wait a week. But then, just thinking about what I promised made my ears burn with embarrassment. Is this really something we should be talking about in broad daylight? Shen Wang narrowed his eyes, his tone deceptively light yet laced with a hint of threat. You wouldn't dare go back on your word, would you? Of course not. The rest of the word would was swallowed as Shen Wang pressed his hand against the back of my neck, his mouth claiming mine. I've never been able to resist Shen Wang's kisses. By the time he let me go, I was gasping for air, tears welling in the corners of my eyes. I'm tired, so tired. Shen Wang leaned in again, gently sucking on my lower lip. I'll stay with you while you sleep. Still catching my breath, I pushed him away with effort. Get away from me. Shen Wang went with the momentum and lay down beside me, letting out a soft sigh. Get some sleep. You'll need to be well rested to enjoy the show. 3 days later, it was announced that Fang Chengyang and Qin Yao would be holding a belated engagement banquet, and an invitation even found its way into Shen Wang's hands. Shen Wang slapped the invitation into my hand, raised an eyebrow, and said with a teasing smirk, "Let's go, the show's about to start." So this is the show he was talking about. I took it with a smile. This should be quite interesting. The Maybach was parked outside the banquet hall. Shen Wang got out, walked around the front of the car, and opened the door for me. I reached out, took his arm, and we walked in together. For this engagement party, the venue was larger. More effort had been put into the arrangements, and quite a few members of the press had been invited. I gave the scene a quick glance and sighed inwardly. Now that's true love. This took a lot more effort than my event did. Hearing this, Shen Wang swept his gaze across the scene, a smirk curling at the corner of his mouth. You call this effort? I smiled back, humoring him. It's alright, I guess. The venue was absolutely packed. Scions of wealthy families and sharp-suited CEOs were gathered in small groups, chatting and sipping drinks. There were even plenty of impeccably dressed, dazzling celebrities and social media influencers. However, most of these people aren't the type the Fang and Qin families can just summon at will. I was a bit puzzled. Could it be the Fang and Qin families have been up to something lately that I'm unaware of? Fortunately, my confusion was cleared up not long after. Ever since Shen Wang and I entered the room, we gradually drew the attention of most people gathered there. Not far away, someone was already swirling their wine glass, eager to come over and strike up a conversation with Shen Wang. I gave Shen Wang's arm a light tap. Looks like I'm riding on your coattails for this party's buzz. Shen Wang has wealth, looks, and connections, a bona fide crown prince of high society. Throughout his rise to prominence in Shicheng, he's kept a clean reputation, no scandals, no interest in the social circuit, so when a fiancé seemingly came out of nowhere, everyone was naturally curious. They soon found out it was me. I'm a daughter of the Qin family, and Qin Yao, my only blood-related sister, is the one getting engaged. Logically speaking, I was bound to show up, so these people were all gambling on a long shot. What if, just what if, I brought Shen Wang along too? This might have been one of their few chances to get close to him. Not far away, Fang Cheng emerged from the crowd, holding a wine glass, and raised it in our direction with a beaming smile. Jiji, Mr. Shen. A server approached from the side with 2 glasses of wine. I took one and, to give him some face as the host, raised my glass in return. Best wishes. As for what exactly I was wishing for, well, that's another story. Fang Cheng didn't mind Shen Wang ignoring him. He gave a slight nod, took a sip of his drink, and turned back to mingle with the crowd. I found a table and set my glass down. When I looked back, I saw Shen Wang had been cornered by a few executives who seemed to know him. He just can't catch a break. I found a corner and tried to ignore the pair of eyes that had been watching me intently from a distance. I casually swirled my wine glass, nibbled on a petit four, and took occasional sips. Seeing that most of the guests had arrived, I let go of my glass, rested my head on the table, and pretended to be fast asleep. Sure enough, the person who had been watching me couldn't hold back any longer and came over to support me. Miss, are you alright? Let me help you upstairs to rest." I closed my eyes and let out a silent, cold laugh. 6. It seems the real show is about to begin. The maid led me to the room, gently removed my clothes, thoughtfully covered me with half the blanket, then closed the door and left. Once all sounds had faded, I sat up in bed, fumbled in the dark for the dress by the bedside, and put it on. The room was dark and silent, and my phone had just been taken by the maid. I tried to adjust to the darkness, wandering around the room. It was spotless, not even a wardrobe. There was nowhere to hide, and the main door was likely no way out. Giving up on hiding, I sat on the sofa by the window and rubbed my aching shoulders. What kind of surprise do you think she has in store for me? A faint electronic crackle sounded from the left earring. Then, Shen Wang's icy voice came through. "You can look forward to it. After all, she won't show you the slightest bit of mercy." I got up, walked to the bed, grabbed the blanket, and returned to the couch, wrapping it around myself. What a heartbreaking conclusion. Shen Wang snorted coldly. "Yeah, so heartbreaking I could almost laugh." I just smiled and didn't respond. I was genuinely looking forward to what surprise Qin Yaro had in store for me today. A sound came from the doorway. I instinctively tightened my grip on the blanket and looked toward the noise. The door slowly swung open. The light from the hallway was blinding at that moment, forcing me to squint. Through the haze, 2 figures slipped through the door, followed by a rustling sound. The newcomers seemed to be taking off their clothes. A hoarse male voice urged, "Hurry up, we shoot and we leave." A deeper male voice, frantic and anxious, spoke next. I know, they hadn't turned on the light. I could just make out their shadowy figures groping their way toward the bed. I curled up tighter on the sofa, burrowing deeper beneath the covers. "Count down in your head. 5, 4, 3. The 2 of them fumbled around on the bed but found no one. "Wait, where is he?" "No, I'm not. You said it was on the bed. Turn on the light and check." I continued the countdown. 2, 1, time's up. The door opened, and light flooded into the room. I instantly pulled the covers over my eyes, afraid of seeing something I shouldn't. After the sharp click of a switch, Shen Wang's voice was icy. Well, what do we have here?" "A little photo shoot for a spicy calendar." The 2 men in the room were dragged out to the doorway by Shen Wang's men. I was pulled from the blankets by Shen Wang and carried out of the room in his arms. 2 men, freshly dressed in waiter uniforms, were kneeling at the entrance. One of them had a small camera hanging from his neck. I averted my gaze and told Shen Wang to put me down. "Who sent you?" The 2 men exchanged a glance for a few seconds before speaking up decisively. "It was Miss Qin who hired us. She wanted us to take some compromising photos of you. She was very specific that your full face had to be visible." "Miss Qin, we were just hired help." "We, couldn't you and Mr. Shen just?" I offered a polite smile, turned, and walked away. Shen Wang, "Call the police." For 20 years, Qin Yaro has been accustomed to lording it over me. The day I returned to the Qin family, I made her suffer such a major humiliation that she ended up moving out that very night. There's no way she would just take that lying down and let me off the hook. True to form, she showed me no mercy whatsoever. The wedding reception downstairs has begun, and the atmosphere is gradually growing lively. On the large screen at the end of the runway, scenes from Fang Cheng and Qin Yaro's shared childhood were playing. I was present in so many of those moments, and during the time some of those photos were taken, Fang Cheng was actually pursuing me. Who knows when Qin Yaro found the time, or what excuse she used, to take those couple photos with him. Now, it has become their own sweet memory. How amusing. In the corner by the stage, the pianist was lost in playing the dreamlike wedding march, its melody carrying the blessings of everyone present and filling the entire hall. Shen Wang followed behind me and wrapped his arms around me. she's going to love your return gift." I looked down at Qin Yao's beaming face and sighed softly. I never really wanted to give it away in the first place. It's a shame about my sister, she's too naive, charging headlong down a single path without a thought for leaving herself an escape route. Perhaps it's my indulgence over the years that has allowed her to remain so foolish. On the large screen, the slideshow had progressed to a photo of the couple in their engagement attire. The master of ceremonies signaled for Qin Yao and Fang Cheng to come up to the stage. Arm in arm, they walked over, shared a smile, turned to face the crowd, and were just about to speak. The speakers flanking the large screen happened to play back the conversation I just had with Shen Wang. The large screen was dark, but the sound from the speakers on either side was perfectly clear. It was from earlier, when I whispered into the monitor hidden in my earring to ask Shen Wang, "What kind of surprise do you think she has for me?" It was only at the very end that the man, dressed like a waiter, uttered those two sentences. It was Miss Qin, the eldest daughter, who paid us to take photos of you fooling around with another man. She specifically insisted we get a clear shot of your full face. Miss Qin, the second daughter, we were just hired hands doing a job. Could you and Mr. Shen please? On stage, Qin Yao's face was ashen as she grabbed Fang Cheng's arm, trying to get him to shut off the large screen. "Who's in charge of this? Turn it off. What is this? Shut it all down." But it was already too late. The people Shen Wang had brought with him had already entered. Blocking those heading towards the screening room, the large screen continued to play. The scene changed. This time, it was my room. I was alone, tidying up my things, when Qin Yao walked in holding a coffee cup. The coffee cup that had shattered days ago broke apart once more. The video cut out again just as I moved closer to the lens. The room erupted in an uproar. Qin Yao had collapsed to her knees, her face streaked with tears. Fang Cheng held her, kneeling beside her. His own face a mask of shock. I let go of the railing, leaned back, and settled into Shen Wang's arms. I almost forgot. What's in the next video? The screen went dark again with my words, and 3 seconds later, Qin Yao's voice emerged before the image. "I really love this trophy, Fiji." The image gradually came into focus, revealing a noticeably younger Qin Yao, several years her junior, holding a crystal trophy and examining it closely. Anyone with decent eyesight could see the winner's name inscribed on it. Qin Ji, that was my trophy. In the video, I was sitting on the sofa at one end of the living room, ignoring Qin Yao, without a care for how I felt. She flung the trophy down at her feet and cried out, "I'm sorry, Ji, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have spoken out of turn. Please don't be angry." Immediately, Qin Zhao and Yi Shuran appeared, shielding Qin Yao. As if her heart had softened, Qin Yao spoke up in my defense. "Don't blame Gigi, it's my fault for being curious about the trophy. She didn't mean to hit me with it. Please don't be angry, Mom and Dad." Little did she know, her attempt to calm the situation only added fuel to the fire. Yi Shuran pointed at me, her expression one of utter disappointment. "How did I end up with a daughter like you? This is your sister we're talking about." The scene on the screen continued to play out. The media in the banquet hall, unable to contain themselves any longer, had already begun live streaming, their cameras flashing incessantly. 7. The guests who had been gathered around the main figures quickly backed away, putting a wide berth between them. "My God, are they really sisters? Oh my God, are these his real parents? You never really know someone's heart." Young Master Fang looks completely clueless, doesn't he? As someone who shared his bed, how could he possibly know nothing? Wasn't young Master Fang originally engaged to the second Miss Qin? Then they suddenly switched to the eldest Miss Qin. Could it be that Qin Yao is so jealous of her own sister that she'd even try to steal her fiancé? The more you think about it, the more disturbing it gets. The murmurs of discussion gradually drowned out one of the main subjects of the video. What was meant to be a warm, joyous engagement party had suddenly turned into a personal ordeal for her. Qin Yao sat frozen in place, clutching Fang Cheng's arm in a panic, trying to get him to lead her away from the crowd, but Fang Cheng himself seemed too stunned, rooted to the spot, until Qin Yao shoved him aside. Seeing that Qin Zhao and Yi Shuran were also surrounded and unable to help themselves, let alone anyone else, Qin Yao simply swayed, rolled her eyes back, and as if she could bear no more, fainted dead away. The crowd inside took a few more steps back, wary of her trying to stage an accident and pin it on someone. Chaos briefly erupted once more. Shun Wang had someone bring him a microphone. He tapped it lightly with his slender, well-defined fingers. Asterisk thump, thump asterisk. His deep, pleasant voice was projected through the speakers surrounding the area, ensuring everyone could hear. Everyone. The crowd below stopped, looking around, before finally looking up and fixing their gaze on Shun Wang and me on the second floor. He held the microphone to my lips. I turned my gaze to the large screen and said calmly, "I hope today's show didn't disappoint everyone." After a pause, I looked over at Qin Yao, who was being helped up. She was stubbornly pretending to be unconscious, her meticulously applied makeup now a complete mess. I just wonder if it managed to satisfy my dear sister, my sister, who had been spoiled since childhood and was both self-righteous and naive, was finally shaken awake by Fang Cheng, as if snapping out of her panic, as if she had nothing left to lose. She glared at me with a fierce intensity, her voice sharp and piercing. "Qinji, it's you. Are you insane? You're forcing me." I finished the sentence for her. "To die, is that it?" Qin Yao stood frozen in place, as if she couldn't comprehend my words. "What?" I let out a light laugh, genuinely pleased. "Isn't that what you loved saying to me most for the past 20 years? So many times in the past, after I received some honor, Qin Yao would gently take my hand, away from our parents. I'm so envious of you, Gigi. You're so healthy and full of life, with so many wonderful memories, and you work so hard to earn these honors. I'm truly happy for you. But Gigi, we're both our mother's daughters. Why do you get to be healthy and happy, to have everything you want, while I'm stuck at home, forbidden from doing this and that? I'm just so sad." She would smash and tear apart the trophies and honors I worked so hard to earn. Then she would lie down amidst the wreckage. "You're so outstanding. You've taken everything from me. You make it seem like my very existence was a mistake. You're always pushing me towards death, Gigi." But she never meant a word of it. She never treated me like a sister, more like an enemy. She probably wishes I were dead, or better yet, that I had never been born. I sighed with emotion. "Qin Yao, oh Qin Yao, with the way you are, what makes you think I could ever be a good sister to you?" There are moments when I can't help but imagine a shard of sharp glass gliding smoothly across Qin Yao's neck. At the edge of the venue, the live stream was still rolling. I swallowed some ill-timed words and paused. After all, it's my sister's engagement party. Just then, Shun Wang's secretary approached Qin Zhao and Yi Shuran, carrying a box. I softened my tone. I had another gift prepared as well. The box opened to reveal a villa's property deed and a deed of gift. Placed inside, someone with a sharp eye nearby exclaimed in astonishment, "Is that from the Cloud Brocade Celestial Abode?" "That's right, it's the Cloud Brocade Celestial Abode, a residence you can't buy with money, and even power doesn't guarantee you a place there," second Miss Qin. What an extravagant gesture. Just as Qin Zhao's eyes lit up and he reached out to take it, the box was snapped shut. I offered a slight, apologetic smile. "It was meant to be a gift. What a pity. Now, it can only serve as an apology. These belong to you now." The box was handed to Qin Zhao's secretary, Yi Shuran, tears streaming down her face without her even realizing, whispered, "Gigi." I ignored the pity in her eyes, looked away, and turned my gaze to Qin Yao, who had completely lost control of her expression. Just like in childhood, right after she had manipulated me, I apologized to her with utmost sincerity. "I'm sorry. Sis. This won't happen again." Back then, I apologized in my youth, valuing our sisterhood above all, choosing to sacrifice my own honor to protect her sensitive and fragile heart. Now, I apologize because I have genuinely shattered what she called the happiness she pursued her entire life. The entanglement between her and me ends here. The engagement party came to a dismal end. Shun Wang and I are making headlines again. The stuff that got swept under the rug at the last engagement party has been dug up again. Though the tone of the coverage is a bit odd, suspicions that second Miss Qin is following a script are unsubstantiated. That line, "What kind of good little sister would I be then?" It was so satisfying it cleared my meridians, holding the evidence, delivering a fatal blow. This is the ultimate power fantasy, a little bunny's revenge story. No, 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 everyone here is a villain. Am I the only one noticing CEO Shen's utterly indulgent look? She's causing a scene. He's just smiling. Perfection. OMG, I totally agree. The Qin family called me countless times, but I ignored every single one. However, When the police came to investigate the photo incident, I still ended up running into a guy I can't stand. Fang Cheng looked utterly dejected. After the engagement party, the Qin family's business went into a nosedive, and the Fang family inevitably got caught in the fallout. It's no wonder he's fallen into such a slump. Then again, he was never exactly the driven, capable type to begin with. Qin Yaro is in the hospital. I raised my hand in a stop gesture, ready to shut the door and shoo him away. Stop right there. Please leave. The door was blocked by Fang Cheng. I didn't mean for it to happen. On the day of the college entrance exam, I was actually planning to confess to you. I was drunk. I don't know why it ended up being Qin Yao. I was behind the door, unwilling to even glance his way. So that's what this is about. That's enough, Fang Cheng. Let's not even get into how many times you two have been carrying on these past few years. I drawled. Haven't you ever wondered why it was Qin Yao who came to see you that night? Fang Cheng forced the door open with a heave, staring at me in disbelief. What are you implying? I took 2 steps back and sneered. The aphrodisiac in your drink was my doing. I made sure Qin Yao saw the text where you asked me out. Even the room where you two carried on, I arranged it for you. Why, we were engaged. I raised my hand again and waved it, making my displeasure perfectly clear. Are you being deliberately dense? I'm genuinely at my wit's end. Why have you been clinging to me since we were kids? Fang Cheng froze in place once more. Memories of my youth came flooding back, all those countless times I dodged him. All those countless times I pushed him away. He looked so heartbroken, as if he might shatter into pieces. I liked you so much. What's that got to do with me? I scoffed coldly. Don't you get it yet? I have loathed you from the very beginning. I never had the slightest affection for you. The mere thought of having to marry you in the future used to keep me up at night, being hounded by him since childhood. Forced to stay by his side as Fang Cheng's fiancé, that was truly the worst period of my life. I'm simply returning you to Qin Yao, just as I said before. 8. I wish the two of you all the happiness in the world. After the wedding banquet, the Fang and Qin families severed ties, and the marriage alliance collapsed completely. To avoid being dragged down, the Fang group completely cut itself off from the Qin family. Fortunately, by withdrawing in time, the Fang family suffered minimal fallout. The Qin family, already riddled with corruption, crumbled overnight. Qin Zhao and Yi Shuran vanished from the public eye. Qin Yao was diagnosed with mild paranoia and severe depression, and remained at the sanatorium in the suburbs of Shicheng. Shun Wang brought the 2 gifts he had given out at the banquet that day back home, completely intact. The Qin family's properties were seized, and the Qin Corporation was acquired by Shun Wang. Burdened with astronomical compensation and left with no other options, the Qin family had no choice but to mortgage the villa I had given them. A parent's love is a debt that can never be repaid, and the bond between sisters is a tie that can never be severed. This is the only gift I have for the Qin family. It is also the last escape route I leave for them. With the past settled, I finally have some time to myself. To my surprise, invitations poured in from all the prominent families, asking me to join their social gatherings, but everyone knew the real reason. They weren't interested in me. Their eyes were on the man behind me. Fortunately, Shen Wangquan turned them all down for me and whisked me away to the old family estate. Inside the Shen residence, a silver-haired old lady sat on a sofa of muted tones, glaring at me with palpable anger. Oh my, who is this young lady? I don't believe I know her. With that, she set her cup down on the table with a clink and turned her head away from me. I hurried over and took her arm. Grandma, it's me, Gigi. Look at me again. I don't believe your eyes see nothing. Who's Gigi? Never heard of her. Granny Shen huffed, still refusing to look at me. I moved to her other side, wrapping my arms around her and continuing to wheedle. You can't say that. You always said I was your favorite. Don't be mad, Granny. I've been busy taking care of some unpleasant business. Finally got some free time, so I'm all yours from now on. After hearing the explanation, Grandma Shen affectionately held my hand, turning her head to glare at Shen Wang. Gigi is in trouble, and you didn't even think to look out for her and lend a hand. Shen Wang shrugged and went straight to sit in the armchair beside us. She didn't need my help. Just then, Mr. Shen descended the stairs, even in his loungewear. He couldn't conceal his formidable, upright aura like an ancient sword sheathed within its scabbard. Though he looked down from a height, his gaze was gentle, and his tone held a playful, teasing note. Gigi has been quite the rising star lately. That rascal of a boy might not even be of much help. I looked up, pressing my lips together in a smile, feeling a bit embarrassed. Uncle, you're here too. Your aunt heard you were coming and made me bring her over first thing this morning. Mrs. Shun, elegant in a simple dress, followed Mr. Shun down the stairs and said gently, "It was my idea. I thought it would be nice for the family to have a meal together. Perfect timing. Gigi can come with me to look at the engagement gowns." Upon hearing this, Grandma Shun gently patted my head. How time flies. My little girl has grown into a young lady. I nodded along with the motion of her hand, feeling a wave of emotion. Yeah. It's been 10 years already since I first met Shun Wang when I was 15. Compared to that gloomy Qin family home, the Shun family's old house feels much more like my real home. On the day of my engagement party with Shun Wang, at the top floor of Jiwang Garden, 9. Everything Shun Wang had painstakingly prepared in secret was finally unveiled before me. Lifting the hem of my gown, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. There were no crowds of guests, nor any media frenzy. The entire venue was carpeted with white roses shipped from around the world, and on the stage at the end of the red carpet, only our families stood waiting. Mrs. Shun leaned against her husband's side, holding a small gift box in her hands. Grandmother Shun held the microphone, her voice kind and gentle, carried by the breeze across the gathering. "Gigi, welcome home." Shun Wang led me closer, guiding my hand to take the box from his mother before opening it. A jade bracelet, warm to the touch and a flawless, translucent green, was slipped onto my wrist. "Gigi, welcome home." Tears fell, and for a moment, I was at a loss for words. How fortunate I was to have known Shun Wang in my youth. A decade has passed. The dust has settled. Story 2. When I was in college, my parents, who were still full of vitality, had a little brother for me. He looks exactly like me. My brother, whose grades were always at the bottom of the class, didn't dare to tell our parents. Instead, he directly called me to school. "Mom, this is my class teacher." My brother honestly tugged at the corner of my clothes, but I felt the cold and indifferent gaze of the man opposite. I forced myself to greet him. "Hi, what a coincidence." Not a coincidence at all. I didn't know that 3 years after our breakup, you'd have such a big son. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When I was in college, my parents gave me an entrance to college gift, a brand new little brother. I watched my mom shyly hide in my dad's arms. I gave my dad a thumbs up in admiration. "Dad, you're really something." The most crucial thing was that my brother looked incredibly like me. When I compared his photo with my old ones, he was a carbon copy. My mom held my brother in her arms, looking very proud. "Our family has such excellent genes. It would be a waste not to create a few more. Look at this little face. How many girls' hearts will it steal in the future?" I really didn't want to dampen my mom's spirits, but as the big-sized version of my mom, I've only had one relationship at my age. Can this small-sized version really become a heartbreaker? Anyway, 3 years after I graduated from college and started working, my brother also successfully entered the 2nd grade of primary school. My brother is simply a challenge from heaven. He's been up to all sorts of things like climbing trees, swimming, and taking bird eggs since he was a kid. After starting school, his grades were always at the bottom of the grade, and he didn't dare to tell our parents. Every time I, the unlucky older sister, had to go to the office and get scolded by the teacher, it was said that my brother had a new class teacher this semester. As soon as the mid-term exam results came out, I was invited to the office again. In the office, my brother was obediently tugging at the corner of my clothes and greeting the man in front of us. "Mr. Jiang, my mom is here." "Mom, this is my class teacher, Mr. Jiang." I was about to say hello, but the words got stuck in my throat, meeting the man's cold and indifferent gaze. I forced myself and changed what I was going to say. "Hi, what a coincidence." Not a coincidence at all. I didn't know that 3 years after our breakup, you'd have such a big son. My brother looked up at me in shock. At this moment, both my brother and I were shouting the same thing in our hearts. Oh no. Half an hour later, my mom arrived. She gave my brother a cold smile and then went into the office to talk. That night, my brother received a mixed doubles scolding from our parents. I received a friend verification request. It was from Jiang Xian, my ex-boyfriend whom I had been separated from for 3 years. Since I started college, I had noticed this unattainable flower on the high mountain. So I pursued him for a year, and to this day, I'm still on the school's most persistent suitor list. But in the end, I actually managed to win this unattainable flower over, and we had a passionate 3-year relationship. Just when everyone thought Jiang Xian was going to propose to me after graduation, I broke up with him and dumped him. As a result, Jiang Xian was heartbroken and went to study in the United States. I became a campus legend ever since. You left your water cup in the office. Jiang Xian sent me a photo. I suddenly remembered that when my brother was being chased and beaten by my mom today, he hid behind me. I was so busy trying to stop them that I left my water cup in his office. Could you please help me give it to my brother tomorrow and ask him to bring it back to me? He replied instantly, no, you come and get it yourself. After all, I gave it to you back then. This water cup was given by Jiang Xian, and I had cherished it for a long time. Oh no. The heartbreaker image I left when we broke up has now been shattered. The next day, I came to the school. Jiang Xian was sitting in the office. He was wearing a simple white shirt, sitting by the window, with his slender fingers holding a pen, seemingly grading homework. When I first saw Jiang Xian, he was also sitting quietly like this, yet attracting everyone's attention. Sis, what are you standing here for? I was so engrossed that I was startled by the sudden voice behind me. Jiang Xian heard the sound and looked up. My brother was surrounded by several girls, who were looking at me curiously. Did Mr. Jiang call you here again to scold me? It seems my brother is well aware of his naughty nature. Jiang Xian had just walked out, before I could say anything. Several little girls surrounded him. Mr. Jiang, Song Xingyang is being a pervert. I widened my eyes and looked at my 7-year-old brother. Is he really a heartbreaker? Song Xingyang was so anxious that he was jumping up and down. No, I'm not, I just said something. But the little girls were persistent. He is being a pervert. He said he wants to marry us in the future. The little girls stood aside, looking pitiful. I felt I had to say something to show that I'm not an unfair sister. Song Xingyang, how could you do this? You're a student now, and your main task is to study. You can't focus on things like love. Jiang Xian chuckled behind me. I suddenly woke up and remembered that someone had said the same thing to me once. Song Xingyue, you're a student. You should focus on your studies and not always think about dating. But it's college now. It would be a pity not to have a relationship. Damn it. I actually said to my brother the words he had preached to me back then. Right in front of Jiang Xian, you two really are siblings, Jiang Xian commented, comforted the little girls, and sent them away. My brother and I stood aside, both looking as meek as quails. Jiang Xian walked into the office, handed me the water cup, and picked up his briefcase. Come on, let me treat you to a meal and catch up. Normally, when my brother and I heard the words have a meal, we could jump 3 feet high, but in the face of Jiang Xian, my brother and I were as quiet as chickens, especially my brother, who only dared to pick up the food in front of him with his chopsticks. Maybe it's because I was the one who proposed the breakup, and it was said that someone had seen Jiang Xian enter a jewelry store to buy a ring to propose to me, but I dumped him. So now, when I look at Jiang Xian, I feel nothing but guilt. How have you been in the United States? Not bad. I've been busy studying every day, after all. No one date me anymore. I buried my head in the bowl, not daring to say a word. Fortunately, Jiang Xian didn't talk about himself anymore, but started talking about Song Xingyang's study situation. My brother looked at me with a crying face, looking pitiful. Sorry, little brother. To make things less awkward for me, I can only sacrifice you. After the meal, I refused Jiang Xian's offer to send us home. I resolutely took the subway back. My brother dragged me and ran faster than a rabbit. After getting on the subway, my brother and I held onto the handrails, gasping for breath. Sis, is Mr. Jiang really your ex-boyfriend? I nodded. Then Mr. Jiang really liked you, right? Did he listen to you in everything before? I thought carefully. He should have liked me before. As for listening to me in everything, it seemed that was really the case. Seeing me nod, my brother became even more excited. That's great. Why don't you get back together with Mr. Jiang? I stared at my brother with wide eyes, unable to imagine how a 7-year-old could say such a thing. People around us all gave strange looks, and I instantly felt like I got on the wrong subway today. Really, Then if Mr. Jiang is not nice to me in the future, I can tell you. What's he doing to you that's not nice? He always calls me to answer questions, and he checks my homework very carefully. I was silent for a long time. And then I spent the rest of the way explaining to him that this was a sign that the teacher cared about him. No way. Are you going to help me or not? Am I not your brother? No, you're my unlucky brother. After thinking for a long time, I still gave him a brief account of my relationship with Jiang Xian. After that, Song Xingyang didn't say anything. It wasn't until we got out of the subway that he suddenly shouted, "So it's because you dumped Mr. Jiang that he doesn't like me." Well, all my explanations were in vain. This kid has a problem with his thinking. When we got home, my brother's eyes were red. He threw his school bag and rushed into his room, starting to sob. "What's wrong? You're usually happy when your sister picks you up." My mom walked into the room, looking puzzled. Soon, I heard the loud crying from inside. "Mom, now I know what it means to be implicated by the whole family." Fortunately, his sad mood only lasted for 3 days. 3 days later, he came home with a workbook on which a thumbs up was drawn, happily showing off his reward for today. "Mr. Jiang said my homework has been very good recently, and he drew this for me specially." My brother showed it to me, but I was lost in thought looking at the big thumbs up. This simple stick figure was taught by me to Jiang Xian. At that time, we were studying together in the library, but I couldn't keep up with the top students' thinking. And I started to get sleepy after reading for a while. To avoid drooling on the book, I had to distract myself, so I drew a simple stick figure of a thumbs up on his draft book. "Don't scribble on my workbook." Receiving a warning, I glared at him unhappily. "I'm teaching you. When you become a teacher in the future, you can reward kids like this." Jiang Xian chuckled but didn't say anything, letting me draw thumbs up all over his book, so he had learned it. I returned the workbook to my brother, and he looked at me curiously with wide eyes. "Sis, why don't you get back together with Mr. Jiang? Anyway, you don't have a boyfriend. Many female teachers in our school like Mr. Jiang." "How do you know that?" "Everyone knows. The English teacher blushes every time she mentions Mr. Jiang." My brother looked very proud, "But I still hope Mr. Jiang can be with you. If people ask, I can say Mr. Jiang is my future brother-in-law. How proud I'll be." So it's his vanity at work. I covered his mouth and urged him to go do his homework quickly. After that, my brother didn't mention it again. I thought he had forgotten about it. Unexpectedly, a week later, I suddenly received a message from Jiang Xian. "Song Xingyang said you haven't been dating because you've been waiting for me all these years. It's so easy to spread rumors, but so hard to refute them." As soon as I got home, I gave my brother a beating. He covered the back of his head and shouted, "It's true, you haven't been dating, so you must be waiting for Mr. Jiang, right?" I was suddenly speechless. If I deny it, wouldn't it expose the fact that I haven't been chased by anyone all these years? "Sis, just be with Mr. Jiang." Mr. Jiang was really happy when he knew you haven't been dating. "How do you know he was really happy? Are you a worm in his stomach?" He snorted and turned his head to the side. "I just know. He showed us a movie this afternoon. He usually doesn't do that." "Was it a movie about tooth protection?" "How do you know?" I was so angry that I took several deep breaths to barely maintain my composure. Because today is World Oral Health Day, I'm really convinced by this kid's brain. My brother stubbornly stuck to his opinion and kept mumbling. At night, I was lying in bed, and my phone screen was still on the message Jiang Xian sent. After thinking for a long time, I replied, "Not really. Although there are a few people chasing me, I haven't found the right one yet." After sending it successfully, I threw my phone aside. 3 seconds later, I received a message. "Is it because you haven't met someone more suitable than me?" Oh no. The American environment really changes people. The unattainable flower from back then can play straight ball now. "I thought you were waiting for me. After all, you said you would love me for a lifetime." Looking at Jiang Xian's message, I felt mixed emotions. That was years ago. Just consider it me talking big. I took it seriously. Great. These 4 words kept me up all night. The next day, I went to work with dark circles under my eyes. My colleagues who passed by my workstation were all shocked. "There's no project recently. Why did you stay up so late? Could it be because of a man?" I forced a smile. My colleague patted me on the shoulder, with an "I understand" expression. "Relationships need to be carefully chosen. Listen to me, It's more suitable to choose someone who loves you more than you love them. For example, that Xiao Tian who has been chasing you for a while. I suspect my colleague might have taken match-making money. That's why she was trying so hard to match me with a colleague from the technology department. I had just politely declined when that colleague from the technology department came over. Xingyue, are you busy today? Can we have a meal together after work? It was said that this colleague was a returnee from overseas. Although he was in the technology department, he didn't look like a typical programmer at all. He usually wore a suit, with gold-rimmed glasses, exuding an elegant temperament. I saw in your WeChat moments that you said you wanted to eat barbecue. There's a new one nearby. I was about to refuse, but when I heard the word barbecue, I hesitated. It's just a meal. I really want to check it out too. Can we just go as meal partners? Since he said that, it seemed I couldn't refuse. So after work, I went to the restaurant with him. The barbecue restaurant was smoky. I ate heartily without any regard for my image. Xingyue, I've always wanted to ask what kind of person you like. Jiang Xian's face instantly popped into my mind. A person who is as unattainable as the moonlight in the sky, gentle and cold, the kind of person you'll fall in love with at first sight. Actually, I have someone I like, although I don't want to admit it. Jiang Xian is really the white moonlight in my heart. My colleague was silent for a long time, and finally gave a bitter smile, inviting me to eat more meat. It was almost dark after the meal. My colleague offered to send me home. I was about to decline when someone called my name from behind. I turned around and saw, my brother was holding Jiang Xian's hand, and both of them had equally gloomy expressions. You said you'd come pick me up today. Damn it, I forgot. After getting home, my brother threw his school bag and went back to his room, feeling wronged again. Why are you two siblings always having a cold war recently? I scratched my head in embarrassment. I was really in the wrong this time. I promised this morning that I would pick him up from school today, but I forgot. My brother and Jiang Xian had been waiting for me at school for 2 hours. Finally, I decided to send him home. Just after passing a street corner, he saw me coming out of the barbecue restaurant. After finally calming my brother down, I remembered to send Jiang Xian a message. Thank you so much today. I was so busy that I forgot. Busy having a meal with another man. Jiang Xian's reply made it hard for me not to imagine his expression just now, with a gloomy face. His eyes seemed to want to bore a hole through my colleague. It was not until my brother shouted that Jiang Xian was squeezing his hand too hard that he suddenly came to his senses. He's a colleague. I had some work-related things and wanted to ask for his help. I didn't know why I bothered to explain to Jiang Xian. It always felt like I was over-explaining. After washing up and lying in bed, I finally received a message from Jiang Xian. Whatever. That's your business and has nothing to do with me. Indeed, we've broken up now. He doesn't care who I have a meal with. But this sentence successfully kept me up all night again. After that, Jiang Xian never contacted me again, and my colleague turned to pursue other girls. My life returned to calm. Until a month later, my brother came home with his latest monthly exam papers. The grades on it made my mom beam with joy. She rewarded my brother with 2 big chicken legs for dinner. But there was no smile on his face. With a sigh, he put the chicken legs in my bowl. Before going to bed, my brother quietly pushed open my door. Sis, can you date Mr. Jiang? I really can't take it anymore. My brother was almost crying as he lay on my bed. Mr. Jiang checks my homework every day, and I'm called on to answer questions in every class. I'm really exhausted. Isn't it good that the teacher pays attention to you? I was about to comfort my brother when I realized he had fallen asleep from exhaustion. Could it really be that tough? In the following half-month, I watched my brother get more and more tired day by day. He was even on the verge of falling asleep during meals. Only then did I finally realize the seriousness of the situation and decided to send Jiang Xian a message. Mr. Jiang, Song Xingyang got good grades this time. Thank you for your teaching. But he's been complaining that he's too tired recently. Could you give him a break? It was official and polite, without a single flaw. I secretly felt proud of myself. In the afternoon, I received a reply from Jiang Xian. He has great potential and should focus on his studies. I was a bit angry when I saw the message. Now Song Xingyang doesn't even watch TV. He goes straight to his room to do homework as soon as he gets home. Isn't that focused enough? I thought carefully. Could it be because he saw me having a meal with my colleague last time? Do you pay this much attention to other students as well, or are you unhappy because of what happened before? Are you questioning my teaching professionalism? No, I'm just talking about the matter at hand. I silently thought to myself that Jiang Xian was getting more and more petty now. After that, Jiang Xian didn't reply, but when my brother came home from school in the evening, he had a miserable look on his face. Mr. Jiang criticized me today. Why could Jiang Xian be giving my brother a hard time? What about the teaching ethics he learned back then? Did he leave them all in the United States? I took out my phone and was about to confront him when a message popped up on my phone. He has indeed been more serious about studying recently than before, but only during class. At other times, he's playing card games, I asked, and he's even playing them at night, hiding from you guys. He's reached the point of forgetting to eat and sleep. I was shocked. I rushed into my brother's room and indeed found a whole set of Ultraman cards under his mattress. He probably spent all his money on these cards. My brother was cowering in the corner, acting like a quail. Jiang Xian sent another message. I've already talked to him. His card playing is affecting his rest now. You can try to stop him at home. Also, the roll call in class is random. There's no such thing as excessive attention. I felt extremely ashamed when I saw the message. I didn't expect you to think of me like this. This was really bad. Annoyed, I called my brother over and gave him a beating, and confiscated all his Ultraman cards. After that, I belatedly realized that Jiang Xian might be angry, because he didn't reply to the apology messages I sent him. He used to like not replying to messages when he was angry. Maybe it was because Jiang Xian, with his noble morals, felt bad after being questioned about his teaching ethics. Seeing that several of my messages went unanswered, I decided to go and apologize in person. Taking the opportunity to pick up my brother, I went to the office. Jiang Xian was still wearing a simple white shirt, grading homework, but his temperament outshone everyone. On the way into the school, I heard a few little girls discussing how handsome Mr. Jiang from class 3, grade 2 was. Indeed, aesthetic sense is cultivated from a young age these days. This feeling took me straight back to my college days. I also happened to hear that there was a very handsome student when I was participating in a club. I was immediately attracted after just a glimpse. Do you need something? Caught peeking. I wasn't flustered at all. I'm sorry. I was too hasty before and didn't figure things out. I'm here to apologize to you. Okay, I accept your apology. That easy. I had rehearsed in my mind for half an hour, and now it ended just as I started. Let me treat you to a meal to make up for it. Okay, no need. I have something to do later. I gritted my teeth, about to speak, when a knock on the door came from behind. Mr. Jiang, it's time for the meeting. It was a very beautiful teacher with extremely lively eyes. Jiang Xian left with her. On the way back, my brother took my hand. Did you see that? That's our English teacher, Miss Zhong. Yeah, she's very beautiful. Miss Zhong is not only beautiful, but she also likes Mr. Jiang. If you want to get Mr. Jiang, you have to seize the opportunity. After thinking for a moment, I squatted down to look my brother in the eye. Mr. Jiang and I did date before, but that's in the past. There's no possibility for us anymore. Don't say such things in the future. It's not good if others hear. My brother nodded, not quite understanding. But why? Mr. Jiang likes you. Don't you like Mr. Jiang? Where on earth did you see that? Feeling annoyed, I stood up and pulled his hand. Walking home quickly, my brother trotted along, still talking non-stop. Usually when we go to the office to find Mr. Jiang, if we don't talk about study, he'll let us play on our own. But that day when I mentioned you in the office, he listened for a long time and finally asked about you. He didn't let me go back until class started. Does Jiang Xian still like me? This thought lingered in my mind for a long time. I remembered the day we broke up. It was a very fitting rainy day. It was even heavier than the rain when a Yuhong begged for medicine. Jiang Xian was sitting opposite me. I saw his fingers constantly rubbing because of nervousness. I said we should break up, and his face was filled with disbelief. Then came repeated questions, which turned into an argument. And finally we went our separate ways. When he left, I noticed a small, bulging box in his pocket. I cried in the restaurant for a long time, until the rain stopped. Then someone came and gave me a bouquet of flowers, ordered by Mr. Jiang. He ordered it half a month ago. It was supposed to be delivered at noon, but it was impossible because of the heavy rain. I'm sorry. A bunch of red roses, with a card on it. There were only 3 simple words on the card: marry me. Combined with the small box, I instantly understood why Jiang Xian had made a reservation at this restaurant half a month ago. A perfect proposal turned into a breakup. I didn't even have time to take a look at what the ring looked like. After that, I heard that Jiang Xian went abroad. I sat at the airport for a day, watching planes take off and land, constantly telling myself, Jiang Xian has finally gone abroad. This should be his life. I thought he would stay in the United States. But unexpectedly, I met him again 3 years later. After that, I never went to school to pick up my brother again. After thinking for a long time, I deleted Jiang Xian's contact information. Seeing it always made me upset, so it was better not to contact him. My mom arranged blind dates for me. My brother looked at me and finally didn't mention that name again. For some reason, I've had a lot of suitors recently. Every blind date partner expressed their interest in me. But they were all bad matches. I wasn't interested in any of them. My mom was on the verge of a breakdown and asked me what kind of person I really wanted. But when I thought about being with these people, I might be subjected to cold violence, domestic violence, or infidelity in the future, I shivered in fear. My mom just called me overly worried. When you were dating before, didn't you think about whether he would beat you? It seems I really didn't. At that time, I was only focused on his looks. I didn't have time to think about these things. Before I knew it, it was December. One day, as soon as my brother came home, he pulled me aside. Do you really not like Mr. Jiang? I hadn't heard him mention this for a long time. Today I saw Miss Zhong buying a huge bouquet of flowers. I heard she's going to send them to Mr. Jiang's house, that beautiful female teacher. They seem quite a match. I didn't say anything, but I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, I had a high fever. I asked my boss for leave and slept at home all day. In the evening, when I was sleeping soundly, I heard noises from the next door. Although it wasn't rest time, they should at least respect the neighbors. I opened the door in my pajamas. Just as I was about to say something, I swallowed the words when I saw the person in front of me. The door of the opposite room was wide open. Jiang Xian was standing in the stairwell, directing several uncles to move a sofa inside. Hello, neighbor. Jiang Xian actually moved in next door to me. That night, he came to my house to borrow a bottle of soy sauce. My brother reacted the most to this. After dinner, he did a slide and knelt down in front of me. Sister, I'm begging you, get together with Mr. Jiang, otherwise, if he lives next door, won't he keep an eye on me every day? I shrugged and told him I couldn't do anything about it. Jiang Xian came to borrow soy sauce today and a screwdriver tomorrow. Finally, even my mom started to murmur, Mr. Jiang always looks so meticulous. Why is he so forgetful in life? I vaguely sensed something was wrong, but Jiang Xian usually strictly maintained a social distance. We just nodded to each other when we met. Only my brother had a bitter face every day and no longer dared to go downstairs to play with other children. As the weather got colder and Christmas was approaching, the surroundings started to be decorated. Although my brother's school didn't celebrate Christmas, it was said that the teachers would have a dinner together that day, so the make-up class was cancelled. He sent me a message in the afternoon, asking me to go home early for hot pot, near the end of work. The company was suddenly generous and gave each of us a flower, so that we wouldn't go home empty-handed and feel too embarrassed seeing other couples. I hummed a song and walked home with the flower. Just as I reached downstairs, I saw Jiang Xian taking out the trash. Wasn't he at the dinner? I greeted him and was about to go upstairs when he suddenly grabbed my hand. Did you go to celebrate Christmas? I was puzzled by this question and could only nod. Well, it's kind of a festival. Just joining in the fun. I'm going to have hot pot later. Jiang Xian let go of my hand, and his face was very pale. This person was still the same as before, caring more about appearance than warmth. I was about to remind him when my phone rang. It was obvious that my brother was already urging me. Forget it. Why should I care about these things since we've broken up? I picked up the phone and walked upstairs. On Christmas, our family gathered happily to have hot pot. Halfway through, we realized there was no oyster sauce. As a big fan of oyster sauce, I couldn't stand it. I immediately put on my shoes and went out to buy some. Outside, everywhere was red, full of a festive atmosphere. I hummed a song and walked home with the oyster sauce, looking up at Jiang Xian's house. It was dark. He should have gone out. I sighed softly and went upstairs, just as I got out of the elevator and before I could find my keys. Suddenly a big hand wrapped around my waist and pulled me towards the stairwell. The person behind was very strong. Before I could react, I was already pulled into the dim stairwell. I just raised the oyster sauce bottle when another hand grabbed me. It's me. I recognized the familiar voice and then realized, Jiang Xian, what are you doing? You scared me to death. It was dark all around. Jiang Xian pulled me and switched positions, pushing me against the corner. There was a faint smell of alcohol in the air. Have you been drinking? Merry Christmas, he said something out of the blue, and one of his hands stroked my face. His cold fingers sent a chill. Aren't you celebrating Christmas? Why are you back? Let go. I can celebrate with my family, can't I? Jiang Xian's strength was terrifying. I couldn't move an inch. Why did you delete me on WeChat? So he just noticed. I rolled my eyes. You didn't reply to my messages, so I deleted you. Anyway, if there's anything about Song Xingyang, you can contact my mom. Then why did you delete me on WeChat 3 years ago? I sent so many messages, but you didn't reply to a single one and finally deleted me. I immediately fell silent. It's all ancient history. Why bring it up again? So you can just forget everything. Forget your promises to me. Forget everything we've done together. Jiang Xian suddenly reached out and grabbed my chin, forcing me to look up and meet his gaze. How can you be so passionate when you like someone, and then throw them aside without hesitation when you don't love them anymore? Song Xingyue, sometimes I really wonder if you ever liked me at all. What did our 3 years mean? Did you really like me, or was I just a prey for you to spice up your college life? I had never heard Jiang Xian speak with a sobbing tone. He was always so proud, usually with a cold and aloof demeanor. Just standing there made people feel unapproachable. Say something. Can't you say a word to me now? He reached out and pulled me into his arms. A familiar embrace and scent. My mind went blank, and instinctively, I reached out and wrapped my arms around his waist. Xingyue, why did you do this to me? For 3 years. I've been thinking every day what I did wrong that made you sentence me to death without a word. In the dim and deserted stairwell, his voice was empty and desolate. I've been to the church countless times, praying in front of God, hoping you would forgive my mistakes. I once thought that if there were really a devil in the world, it would be great. I could make a deal with him. I could exchange everything just to be with you again. 3 years was neither long nor short. Listening to Jiang Xian's words, I was in tears. How could I not have felt the torment? Tell me, please, tell me what I did wrong. I'm willing to change. I can't accept you being with someone else. He held me tightly, and a tear dropped onto my face. I'm sorry. After a long silence, I could only choke out these 3 words. I don't want to hear I'm sorry. I just hope we can start over. Jiang Xian bent down and buried his head in the crook of my neck. I felt his body trembling and raised my hand to gently pat his back. Okay. As soon as I said this, I suddenly felt as if a huge stone that had been pressing on my heart finally fell to the ground. Jiang Xian suddenly raised his head and was stunned for a long time. Really? You won't leave me again this time, right? No. My eyes were red as I looked at the person in front of me. I've wanted to be with you since you came back, but I was afraid he wouldn't forgive me, afraid I would be rejected, just like the way I rejected him back then, when I got home with the oyster sauce. My brother's stomach was already bulging. Sis, why did you come back so late? Hurry up, I saved some shrimp for you. I sat at the table and started eating heartily. Suddenly, my brother stared at me. Sis, why is your mouth swollen? I was startled. I was too excited in the stairwell just now and didn't control my strength when we kissed. It's nothing. The soup base was a bit spicy. I quickly made an excuse. Not until bedtime did my brother suddenly rush into my room. Sis, you're together with Mr. Jiang. I was so scared that I immediately sat up in bed and asked him how he knew. Just now when I went downstairs to play with Xiaogang, I saw him. He bought me something to eat and said I can call him brother outside of school. I didn't expect Jiang Xian to have such a big mouth. I finally managed to send my brother to bed, but unexpectedly, the next day, the whole family knew about it. My mom stared at me intently as I was having breakfast. Are you dating Mr. Jiang across the hall? Phut, I spat out the milk in my mouth. How do you know? Your brother said so. I knew there was something between you and Mr. Jiang. My mom raised her eyebrows at me. Mr. Jiang doesn't seem short of money. Why would he live in our old neighborhood and come to bother us from time to time? He must be doing it for you. I buried my head in the bowl, too embarrassed to speak. Only my mom was still happily gloating on her own. In the evening, when I went to pick up my brother, Jiang Xian insisted on coming back with us, so when the three of us were going upstairs, we happened to run into my mom. "You're back, Xiao Jiang. Come over for dinner later." "Okay, auntie," Jiang Xian obediently agreed. At the dinner table, my brother had a pained expression. "I should have never tried to get you two together. Having dinner with the teacher makes me feel so uncomfortable." Unexpectedly, Jiang Xian, who had just finished washing the dishes, heard this. Looking at his half-smiling expression, I knew my brother was in trouble. Under Jiang Xian's supervision, my brother got a pretty good grade in the final exam, but he didn't have time to be happy for 2 days before he got sad again. Jiang Xian came to see me every now and then. My brother, who never does his homework until the last day, finally felt the pressure. After the new year, he started throwing tantrums. "Sis, move out, don't let Mr. Jiang come anymore. I can't take it, I really can't." But it was too late. Without a doubt, he would be under Jiang Xian's supervision for the next 4 years of primary school. As the weather gradually got hotter, I was running home with a newly bought ice cream when I saw a familiar woman at the entrance of the community. The woman took off her sunglasses and gave me a faint smile. "Do you have time? Let's talk for a while." This woman was Jiang Xian's mother. I heard she was the chairwoman of a listed company. The last time we met was before my graduation. She came to my school to find me. "You're not suitable for Jiang Xian. Because of you, he doesn't want to go abroad for postgraduate study. If you really love him, let go and don't hold him back." I thought I and Jiang Xian would be the protagonists of a story, getting together after overcoming all difficulties. But in reality, he could have had a better life. Yet he stopped because of me. I was afraid that 20 years later, our relationship would be worn away by daily trivialities, and finally, he would resent me for tying him down, so we broke up. After getting back together, I knew I would eventually see this person again. Ms. Jiang took me to a coffee shop and directly handed me a check. "You know what I mean, right?" I smiled and took the check. "Thank you, auntie, for the gift. Don't worry, I'll be with Ian well." Her face changed slightly. "I'm asking you to break up. You're not suitable for Ian. Don't hold him back. You said that 3 years ago. We broke up, but 3 years later, he still came back to me. Doesn't this explain everything?" "That's because you seduced my son." Ms. Jiang clenched her fists. I calmly pushed the check back. "If you could persuade Jiang Xian, you definitely wouldn't come to me. You don't accept me, and I don't care. Anyway, it's him, not me, who will feel uncomfortable being caught in the middle. You've really changed compared to 3 years ago." Hearing her words, I couldn't agree more. After 3 years of struggling in society, of course, I've changed. I was surprised that you didn't mention me to Ian 3 years ago, so I told him that I was the one who broke you two up. He got angry for the first time. Ms. Jiang sighed softly and pushed the check in front of me. "You win. The relationship between me and my son was already bad, and it can't get any worse. Take the gift. Goodbye." She left in a hurry after saying this. Just as I was about to leave, Jiang Xian called. "Where are you?" "At the coffee shop." "Did my mom come to see you?" "I don't like coffee." So Jiang Xian guessed it instantly. "Yes, but this time, she's willing to bless us." There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. I could only hear his slight breathing. "Why didn't you tell me back then?" "It doesn't matter. Now we've finally overcome the difficulties." I sat in the coffee shop for a while, and then Jiang Xian arrived. He was panting, looking a bit anxious. "I'm not going to run away." I chuckled and stepped forward to hug him. I said, "I won't leave you again this time." He nodded without speaking. It seemed I still had to take the initiative. I directly rummaged through Jiang Xian's car and found a small box, then threw it in front of him. "Kneel down." Jiang Xian was slightly taken aback and asked me if I was really sure. "You only have 3 seconds. If you don't kneel, I won't marry you." 1, 2. Jiang Xian immediately knelt down on one knee and opened the small box, revealing a delicate sapphire ring. The sun was shining brightly outside. Many people came out for a walk and stopped when they saw the man kneeling on one knee at the entrance of the coffee shop. Before I knew it, a crowd had gathered around. The exquisitely crafted ring was inlaid with a sapphire representing loyalty and perseverance. "When did you buy the ring?" He chuckled, met my gaze, and his eyes were filled with tenderness. 3 years ago, ****, Jiang Xian's side story ****. March 16th is a day I remember deeply. I think I might have fallen in love with Song Xingyue. Since she came up to add me on WeChat, she has barged into my sight. I always unconsciously followed her with my eyes. When she got close, I would pretend to be nonchalant. She was always full of life. Wherever she was, there was no lack of laughter. She said I was too quiet and that we were a perfect match by nature. Since that's the case, we should be together. March 16th, the first day we were together, she leaned on my shoulder, saying I was good looking and that she liked me just by looking at me standing there. She was funny yet knew where to draw the line. I had never felt my heart beating so strong. It seemed my emotions were being tugged by her every move. I grew up with divorced parents. In my opinion, love, this high-level spiritual pursuit, was destined to be rare. It was also a low-demand thing. So what if I didn't fall in love, until Song Xingyue completely shattered my ideas? It should be said that she shattered too many of my things. My bottom line kept dropping because of her. But every time I got angry, she would act coquettish behind me. I just want to add some earthly flavor to you. Aren't you tired of being a fairy every day? She was wonderful. Being with her, I felt like I came alive. We were together throughout college. I thought our relationship should progress further. Like getting married, safeguarding our love with the law, always protecting each other, and never separating. I started making preparations, choosing a diamond ring, and booking a venue. Although busy, I was filled with happiness. I eagerly counted the days. May 28th, a day I will never forget, the 1137th day of our love. It rained heavily that day, not suitable for a proposal, but everything was already ready. I took her to the restaurant. She was a bit silent, giving me a bad premonition. The flower shop said the flowers couldn't be delivered for the time being. I was a bit angry and decided to wait a little longer. Fortunately, I had prepared some jokes to make her happy, but she wasn't happy at all. Instead, she broke up with me. So a joke could have such a great impact, easily ending my love. I couldn't accept this reality. I asked her for reasons and frantically sent her messages, until the final red exclamation mark finally made me understand. It was all over. For a long time, I was thinking about what I did wrong. I had never encountered such a difficult problem. I didn't even know where I went wrong. Finally, I went abroad. There were all kinds of enthusiastic girls. Once, a girl handed me a card. She said she would let me experience real passionate love, but I had already experienced it, the kind of extreme love. I became obsessed with praying because we had once worshipped the God, but he didn't bless me. In the church, the priest told me that with enough sincerity, I could wash away my sins. Great. That's exactly what I needed. But God didn't hear me either. I felt abandoned. Since she abandoned me, Song Xingyue, you big liar, the professor hoped I would stay here to study. But I wanted to go back and take a look. I wanted to enjoy the sunlight at the same time as her. Maybe when the wind blew, it would bring a kiss from her. There was a child named Song Xingyang in the class. He also had the surname Song. What a coincidence. Whenever I saw something, I would think of her. Even if it had nothing to do with her. This child was very naughty, but there was a resemblance to her between his eyebrows and eyes. I really didn't expect to meet her again. I tried my best to suppress myself and not go crazy in front of her. In 3 years, I learned a lot, like the simple stick figure of a thumbs up she taught me, and being duplicitous like her, clearly missing her like crazy, but pretending not to like her on the surface, just like her, pretending to be deeply in love when she didn't like me. In 3 years, I understood, our relationship had no problems. It just simply came to an end and disappeared. She just didn't want me anymore. But I couldn't accept her being with someone else. It would make me jealous. I was jealous of the person having dinner with her and hated those who approached me. I don't know how Miss Zhong found out my address and insisted on staying in my house, out of consideration for our colleague relationship. I just called the police to solve it. Then I chose to move. I bought the house opposite at a high price. When I saw her open the door, my mood instantly brightened. December 25th. I gave a thumbs up in admiration. I experienced extreme emotions. I was afraid I wouldn't have another chance. Fortunately, she didn't give up on me. April 16th, the day of the proposal. November 30th, the day of our wedding.